Hi, Kerry Garrison with Camera Dojo. Today we're going to take a look at the Phottix Cleon, which is a wireless trigger. Now, I've used the Phottix wireless trigger. You can read about this on Camera Dojo from about 2 years ago. Very simple device, just plugs into the remote on the camera and then has a little wired remote to trigger it. And this particular unit had 16 channels. Pretty basic, had good range, about 300 feet or so. I typically got about 250 feet out of it, not that I ever needed that much. But this unit has lasted me 2 years, and the only reason I haven't used it lately is because the battery's dead in it. But there's a new one out, and this is the Cleon. So it's actually a couple different pieces here. There's the receiver, the transmitter, and then the cable for your particular camera. Let's take a look at each of these pieces here. So the receiver simply has a set button, which is the power, and also used to program it if you ever need to resync, which you should never need to do. And then an on and hold button, or switch. And then a push button to actually trigger it. Now for each of any camera, you get the same receiver, and you just get a different wire for each camera. Now, just for comparison, let's take a look. The receivers for both of them are about the same, except the new wire is significantly longer. So you get a little more stretch with this, and I'll show you why that's important in just a moment. The transmitter is quite a bit smaller. So, roughly it's half the size. So it's narrower, thinner, lighter, and all that. But here's what makes this new system pretty cool. I go and I take the cable and plug it into the end of the receiver. I'm going to go on my camera here, and I'm going to plug the remote in to the side of the camera. Now, as is, without turning anything on, I can use this as a trigger. There we go, we've taken a picture. Now if I change the drive here, so it's not taking up any battery at all by using this as a wired trigger. And that's why it's nice that it has a longer cord on it, is you can set this up on your tripod and you can be, about 2 feet away from it when it's all stretched out. Now in wireless mode, we're just going to turn it on. We're going to hold the button down for 3 seconds until the red light comes on. And it's got a convenient hot shoe mount. Now, it doesn't do anything. It's not triggered by the hot shoe or anything. It's just convenient to put it there. So I'm just going to put it on the top of the camera. And now I've got my remote. Now, most of the time I'm not going to need to pull out the antenna unless I really need the range. And unfortunately, I didn't get the range of the old unit. I was getting about 250 feet with the old unit, and with this one, I'm only getting about 120 feet. So it's quite a bit less range that I'm used to. It could be for a number of reasons. I had the flash on this time so I could see it pop, and that might have been causing some interference. So I'm going to try and retest that, but I never need more than 100 feet. In fact, I rarely need more than about 5 feet. So it's good. It's good enough. I mean, even 10 feet when I'm working in the studio and working with a model, and I can just sit there popping off frames while I have her posed and everything. Now, it does have a half push for focus and then all the way to take the picture. Now I can move the switch to the middle, the 2S, and when I press it, it's going to do a 2-second delay before taking the picture. Actually, it seems like it's about 3 seconds, but who's complaining? And then in burst mode, I'm all the way in the bottom, I'm going to trigger it, and it's going to take 5 frames continuously. So there, we've got a 5-shot burst. It'll go basically kind of as fast as the camera will go, which, when doing it one at a time. It's not the camera's burst mode. Now, if I want that, I could go ahead and put the camera in burst mode. So we'll take that, and we'll put it in drive, put this back on the single. You can see I can get a little more speed out of it by doing it that way. But it's a good setup, and I love the fact that most of the time I'm going to actually use it with it powered off and use it as a wired remote, because I don't need the wireless all the time. In fact, it's fairly rare that I need the wireless. It's nice to have, and there's times when I really like using it, when I'm working with people and I can have it set up and I can just be popping them off when they're not really expecting, and I can really get some good candids. But when I'm working on products, which is most of the stuff that I do, I only need the wired remote. So my battery should last a lot longer. I mean, not that these are expensive batteries, they're only about $1 or so at Radio Shack, but still, it's nice to have. So this is the Cleon system. Now, there was a Cleon I, and the main difference was the cord was hardwired to the unit. It had the 16 channels settable by the dip switches like the old one. The Cleon II is actually 16 million channels, and they're synchronized out of the box, and if you need to resync them, you can. Or you can get multiple receivers and synchronize them all to one remote, so you can fire multiple cameras at the same time. So that's another big feature of it. The Cleon II has the 2-second delay. The Cleon I doesn't. So for most people, you could probably get away with the Cleon I, but for the extra little niceties of the Cleon II, it's probably worth it. And it's only about $36, so it's actually a really good deal. So that's it. That's the Phottix Cleon, and you can read the rest of the article here at Camera Dojo for the rest of my article on it. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.